John Huppenthal is going to speak with us first. He's Superintendent of Public Instruction with the Arizona Department of Education, and as he comes to the podium, I was remiss in not mentioning that Bill Mendoza is with us. Bill, would you stand? And he'll be speaking with us a little later today. He's come a long way this morning, and we're really pleased to have him and anxious to hear his update. Thank you, Bill.
Sam, thank you for the introduction, and thank you for the invitation to be here today. There's no greater and more important mission for education than the mission the people who are here today have come from far and wide, traveled many miles to be here today to see how can we accomplish this mission better. If we look at the dropouts and the statistics for dropouts, it only reemphasizes what we know to be the importance of what we're doing here today. They're much more likely to end up as drug abusers. They're much more likely to end up in our prisons. And the personal destruction for them is enormous, and the burden on society is unbelievable. If we can accomplish our goals, we can set a new course for them, and we can set a new course for society. What I want to do here today is talk a little bit about three things. One, a trip I made on to our Navajo Indian reservations, the observations that I made on that trip. It was a 4-day swing through northern Arizona. And I want to talk about what we're doing to directly engage students, and also critically to talk about what we're doing to produce great teachers, because it's all a part of the mix of what we have to do to increase graduation rates on our Native American lands. First, I want to talk about going up on the Navajo Indian reservation. It was a week-long swing, and I traveled to a number of schools, and we all start out thinking we know what we're going to see, but what I saw was distinctly different than what I expected. The first thing that I observed was we have teachers on the Native American lands who really care about their students, who really deeply care about their students, and they're extraordinarily skilled. We observed this in English classes in 2 cases where we saw the very best techniques of Socratic instruction, engagement of students, of what they call scaffolding, and deep, rigorous discussions. So we know there are a lot of very good things happening in our Native American lands. We also saw in that tour was career and technical education. And it was very powerful to me because of my personal background. For me, career and technical education isn't an education for students who might otherwise drop out. It is a world-class education that every student ought to engage in. And so when we saw the results up on the Navajo Indian reservation, I was thinking, not only is this great for these students, but it's an example for every school throughout the whole state. We saw more advanced implementations of career and tech education on the Navajo reservation than we've seen across all of Arizona. They are an example for all of our schools. Up in the Pinion School District, we saw Navajo students creating whole homes. They were constructing a whole home. It was a smaller size, so it could be accommodated within the constraints of the school, but it was a world-class construction. 8-inch framing on the exteriors, R33 insulation. They were bringing in special paints, $400 a gallon, for the very finest and upscale treatments. And as I walked through that home, and there was one marble implementation, all very top of the line instruction going on by an extremely talented construction teacher. The thing that interested me was the degree of engagement of these students. They were so focused on their task, learning their task, that there was not even a sideways glance towards me as a visitor. They were not distracted. It reminded me of a trip that I took over to China, and I walked into a chemistry class that was going on, not a sideways glance, 100% engagement. So when I walked into that home that was under construction, 100% engagement. And that means that that student is in a state of high motivation. Ladies and gentlemen, motivation is ground zero in our education system. What the data shows is that somewhere between 40 and 50% of our students as they enter into the high school arena have completely disengaged from the mission. So when we go into a class, an English class, and we see 100% engagement by the students, and a teacher who's giving a performance that would make the very best envious, who's inspiring their students, that's ground zero. And our mission is to take those career and tech ed opportunities to create a development structure in which every teacher attains those levels of power. And so we could see as we went across the Indian reservation, the English classes, the construction class, and then finally we ended up in one implementation where the students were actively engaged in surgery. They had a medical tower that was built there that was like it was straight out of the Harvard Medical School. It was an observation tower with glass panels. They could look down on the operating table. Some students observing, other students participating. As a surgeon had livestock there, and they performed, it was a veterinary sciences, and it was absolutely fascinating. And other students practicing surgery techniques. Interestingly enough, on a slit banana, I guess a banana skin replicates the consistency of the human skin, and the students were practicing their stitches on that banana skin. Absolutely fascinating. They had another device that would pick up a 2-ton bowl, gently rotate it up on its side, and the students were busy practicing their veterinary techniques in trimming the hooves. They gave me a try. I don't want to tell you what was spraying everywhere. But it was, so the very best veterinary sciences, the very best construction techniques, when they rolled those homes out, when those homes were reeled out, they were a complete electrical systems, complete plumbing systems, complete flooring systems. They had everything it takes to build a high-quality home. When I looked at that engagement, I could only think, we need to make this available to every student. Every student has to have a chance to do this. And I think back on my own personal experience, nobody in my family had ever planned to go to college or even thought about college. Nobody talked about it. And so I took career and tech ed classes in high school. I took drafting. I took woodshop. And I viewed that as instrumental to my later success as a mechanical engineer in college. The engagement, the three-dimensional learning, those type of things. We view career and tech ed as a vital piece of engaging students who might otherwise drop out, but it's fundamental to also realize that we view career and tech ed as a world-class education that needs to be made available to every child and important for every child. That needs to be a part of all of their education learning. So career and tech ed is one piece. The other thing we need to do is to fundamentally understand that education froze in time right around 1810. And there's a huge cultural challenge to evolving education into the modern era. So I want to talk a little bit about some of our strategies that engage around the modern era. In the modern era, organizations measure customer satisfaction. And just now, over the last few years, the Gates Foundation has funded a project around how do you measure customer satisfaction in education in a way that has meaning to education culture. Because we fundamentally reject the idea that the purpose should be to make students happy. Because we know that making students happy and educating them are sometimes in conflict. The Gates research has solved that quandary. What they've found out is if you ask students the right questions, their answers are significantly correlated with academic gain. So we believe we have to, as an organization, do what high-performance organizations do. We have to measure our relationship with our customer, and we have to view students as a customer. And the Gates questions now allow us to do that. Not only the Gates questions, but separately and independently, the Gallup organization has funded 10 years' worth of research also, in which they are measuring the attitudes of students and how those attitudes correlate with learning. We believe that measuring both the Gates questions and the Gallup questions can give us a strategic edge at reducing our dropout rates, engaging students, and dramatically increasing student learning. So we're advancing those ideas. We hope to bring out a system whereby we measure student engagement and also these core questions district by district to see which districts are doing the best jobs of engaging students and running classrooms that are highly organized, motivating teachers to move up higher and higher at levels to which the students believe that that teacher cares about every one of them. That teacher is challenging every one of them. That teacher takes the time to confer with each one of her students individually. And above all, we create systems then that then back up the teacher. So we want to measure students' attitudes. We think this measurement and moving to much higher levels of engagement, challenge, well-being are critical. Now, one single factor that has come out of this research that trumps all others is vision for the future. It is hugely predictive of success, whether a child will graduate from high school, whether they will go on and persist in college. We think this, of any question that we ask, this one is the most fundamental. So we'd like to know, district by district, which district is doing the best job of imbuing in each student, having each student to have a clear vision for their future and be taking energy towards making that vision happen. So number one, measuring that relationship with students. Number two, we have to energize teachers every day in a way in which they execute all of this. Teachers have an incredibly burdensome job. The data shows clearly they are very highly stressed. We need to organize our whole system around supporting teachers in the classroom. And that's one of the reasons I was up on the Navajo reservation, is to send that signal that in my department, we view supporting the school districts and the principals and the teachers in classroom as job number one. The tragedy was, they told me when I went to these schools that the last time a superintendent of public instruction had visited was 32 years ago. Well, we intend to be out to all of the reservations, and we hope to do it a number of times on my watch, because it's critically important. We have among the lowest Native American test scores in the nation. I can't be successful, Arizona can't be successful, the Navajo Nation can't be successful until we reverse that trend. All of our Native American tribes can't be successful until we reverse those trends and establish clear paths of success for these students. One in which they graduate from high school, they go on to college and other post-secondary education, and they have success in life with occupations and good-paying jobs. That's our mission. And in order to do that, we think we need to get career and tech ed to be at an absolute prime. We need to support students in the classroom. We need to be scientific about that support. And then finally, we need to measure the degree to which we're supporting teachers in the classroom. We've got to reduce that incredible stress that every teacher, and shows in the data, the incredible stress that teachers are experiencing. We've got to do a better job of supporting teachers in the classroom. And to do that, we need to know who's doing the best job out there of supporting those teachers. So we're going to start measuring teacher job satisfaction and posting that data district by district. We think that all of these are a critical part of the winning equation, and many of you out here, I've taken a look at a number of the programs in other states. We really love that Montana program. We are taking a look at that with a high degree of interest. We love Colin Powell's work, Graduation Nation. We're looking at that very closely as we fashion our programs. So you all are doing an incredible job, and we really appreciate the fact that you're willing to come from so far to visit sunny Arizona. And did I say welcome to Arizona? And we can use all of your money too. We appreciate that. So thank you for the job that you're doing, for our students, for our teachers, and most of all for society. Appreciate it, and thank you.